Hello, everyone, and good morning. We'll get started right about in 2 minutes. While you're joining, how about you drop in the chat where you're tuning in from? We always love to see a mix of cities and time zones. We've got a packed hour ahead and a live Q&A at the end, so get your questions ready. To start off with, we have a poll set up where you can say, where's your team on AI Outbound? Have they started? Have they not started? What are they experimenting with? Is it still messy? Or you've got your AI game locked in? Let us know and let's see what people think. Yep, so it looks like we've got the poll up. Please go ahead and put your answers in so that we can have a fruitful discussion. Also, for all of you joining now, you can also drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat so that we can all connect after the session. Welcome, Austin. Hello, Brannon.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Hey, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. Excited to have a great session going.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. It's great to be here.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Yep. So I think we can get started here. Welcome, everybody. I'm really glad you guys are here. I'm Samvit, the founder and CEO of Tario. Today, we're tackling some including a lot of you in the room might be facing right now. AI was supposed to be the next big thing. It was supposed to unlock a lot of potential, a lot of efficiency in terms of reps, more pipeline, and better conversion. For some teams, some things have worked, but for a lot of people that we speak to, it has added complexity like never before. Today, we break down exactly why this gap is existing and what we can do about it. We have a very fine lineup for today. Brannon Stacy, he's the VP of Radical Minds, and he had sales and marketing there, and he has various teams reporting into him. And over his long career, he has worked with a lot of teams at different stages and knows about where companies to strategize in terms of tools, products, and approaches to get the best outcome. Joining Brannon, we have Austin Helm. He's the sales manager at ZeroBounce. ZeroBounce is used by billions of hundreds of thousands of users, and it's validated billions of email addresses. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of our sales teams have very high deliverability in terms of getting email addresses right and making sure that we don't ruin our domain reputations. So, gentlemen, it's great to have you, and let's not ease into it. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth right away. Enterprise sales teams have brought more tools than ever, and reps are somehow spending more time on admin than selling. Why hasn't AI fixed this, Brandon?
Well, I think the core mistake most companies make are AI is getting added to broken processes. Not more tools create more fragmentation throughout those processes, and prospecting tools don't actually talk to the sequencer, enrichment tools that don't talk to your CRM, reps that end up being more the connective tissue to those systems. what actually works is a single connected system where finding the right contact, researching it, writing out the outreach and personalizing that outreach and sending it, and then learning from what happened all feed into one system automatically. Teams who've made the shift spend more of their hours in conversations and not in those specific platforms, right? Manual processes and those things take over a lot of that time.
Yep. And Austin, what do you think underneath a lot of this problem lies? Is it a data problem? And how bad is it among most teams that you talk to?
Yeah, so it absolutely, there is a data problem that underlies a lot of this, because bad data is pretty much universal across all types of companies and from small to large. And unfortunately, it's something that people don't realize they have a problem with until it's too late. I always say I get two types of people that call me. It's people that are doing their routine maintenance and they're like aware of the issue and they're just looking to validate or do those types of things. Or you get people that are freaking out. Oh my God, everything's going to spam, can't send emails, nothing's delivering, what's going on? So you just don't want to end up in the second category. Lists typically decay anywhere between 20 to 25% a year, especially depending on the makeup of the data that you have with your emails. If it's B2C, the average lifespan for those types of emails is around 6 months, or 6 months. If it's B2B, it's typically around 3 months. So depending on the domains that you're looking to email to, you want to be sure that you're doing your validation and your email cleansing in a healthy cadence. But yes, the real issue is the actual data itself. And before AI gets involved, you got to make sure that the data that you're giving it and that you're going to ultimately feed it is going to be good.
Brannon, what are some of the measures you're taking at your org, and what do you advise people to do on, getting the data right? And this wouldn't just be, at finding the right contacts, but at a deeper fundamental level in terms of who you're reaching out to and who your audience really is.
Yeah, I think it's ensuring that you have a good data provider from the very beginning. I think that it's important to make sure you're cleansing that data, and then you're also doing enough research behind that before you ever reach out, right? And understanding and knowing your customer, where do their buying signals look like? Where is the company actually at? Finding the right angle in is most important. And if you can cut that time down by using AI, it's a significant gain, right? I always look at it like a track meet, right? And people are going to be way far ahead of you. Other companies and your peers in the industry are going to be further ahead if companies get this right. I've seen too many times throughout my career where I walk into a company, you think, they're enterprise business, they'll have the right data, they'll have the right system and tools. And a lot of the times those tools don't talk to one another, whether it's Salesforce to outreach or whatever tools that you're utilizing. Data is the most important piece. And I see that all the time where companies aren't cleansing their data, they're destroying their domain presence. A lot of things that people don't really talk about, we all deal with it, and then it never really gets resolved, right? I mean, there's some companies that can get it right, and then there's some companies that can't.
Yeah, I think the problem isn't as much an individual tools. They do a great job at what they're meant to do. It's more like they aren't talking to each other effectively, and that was fine before AI because anyways those integrations were sort of broken. But post AI, you have this opportunity that's created where bringing a lot of these tools together and connecting the data pipes can really be beneficial because you can have agents running all across your system. To that end, right, fragmented tools and broken workflows are something we've all encountered, and hopefully we can use AI correctly, and by this session advise people on how they can also make sure that their workflows are strengthened. But one problem that we have seen with AI outreach and sorry, just fix the slides. Yep. So what we've seen with AI outreach happening is now every email sounds the same, right? Buyers can smell AI easily. Phone companies are changing validations where you have to speak before the person can accept your call. What do you think is broken, Brannon? And how can we fix it? Right, we are using AI to be more efficient, but the buyers are able to smell generic AI written emails very easily.
Well, I think one of the problems is everybody's just dumping names and titles and company names in to AI, and where I call it, it's like garbage in, garbage out, right? I believe, you can use AI to fix grammar. You can use AI to, to build a template. But at the end of the day, I think that, if everyone's, pulling the same prompts and using the same data, you get the same race to the bottom on relevance. I think that that's one of the key factors of the failing programs or failing campaigns on outreach. Buyers are more tuned out ever before than AI, right? So I think not less. And I don't know that when I get an email, a prospecting email, and it automatically reads like AI wrote it, I don't even get to the third sentence, right? So I think relevance is an important piece of that. Like I said before, personalization really does require training across multiple sources, like your CRM system, live public signals, LinkedIn activity, any intent data that you can get your hands on, funding news, hiring patterns, any of those pieces, right? Where you can actually contact the contact and get in contact with them, and be relevant to their situation and identify their problem. Agentic systems that actually trailing across those platforms actually do a better job by not wrapping a copy around one data point, the reasoning across the full context of an account before this, writing a single word to that prospect. Teams that are getting this right are standing out, right? People that are relevant can personalize their outreach, and they're the ones that are getting through and differentiating themselves in the now, right? So
Absolutely. I think you perfectly picked on relevance, and that's the most important thing, right? AI has enabled us to send at bulk because credits are becoming cheaper and the research is available. But that relevance piece cannot just be solved by volume. It has to have a holistic approach as to is your AI really having the same effect that an SDR was having before all of this was blown out of proportion. So Austin, even if we have cracked personalization in effective relevant manners, if your email doesn't land anywhere, that's just going to make it worse. What do you think the AI volume problem is in today's time? A lot of people are talking about their inboxes being bloated up, but I think there's something deeper going on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone's so excited about the AI, just the whole phenomenon, and they want to get involved, figure out how to use it, get it involved in their
Mhm.
processes, without really understanding the tool itself or what it can do and what it does. And so, kind of like Brannon was saying earlier, it's garbage in, garbage out. So if you are starting with a bad foundation and then you get AI to start doing a bunch of the work and the sending for you, it's going to make things worse. It's going to destroy you very quickly because it's going to start firing off emails that aren't going to deliver. As that happens, the issue is going to compound on itself. Your sender's reputation is going to get destroyed, and you'll be out of business before you know it. In terms of sending emails, and so then you got all types of new problems on your hand. So you really just want to make sure you have your foundation set up properly before getting this tool involved, and get a very good understanding of what it's going to do. Start to implement it slowly, and it's start to move methodically so that you're not going to do anything that's going to cause massive amounts of damage that you're ultimately going to have to go fix. So yes, it can be a good tool, but it can also be very dangerous if you do not have the deliverability component configured properly prior to actually getting it involved.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people look at stuff on LinkedIn and get excited that, and they start with the new product. They see that 5 emails look great. So, they expand it to 5,000 emails without figuring out who they're
Yeah.
targeting or, what type of mechanism. And, and then the tools get a bad reputation. And that's why we've ended up here where we have to get to the discussion of, what has AI broken in sales instead of the benefit it's added. Your thoughts, Brandon?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I think that at the end of the day, it's data. Every company I go to, the company that has the best data, has the right contact information, I think they're the ones getting to the table at the end of the day, right?
Sorry, Austin, I
You
cut
see,
you off.
lots of companies bleed out because
Mhm.
of this specific, topic that we are talking about today. They bleed out, spending tons of hours and training and all these things to get people ready. SDRs, business development managers, what have you, and it doesn't matter what industry it is, right? It doesn't matter. Data is the most important piece. I've always said data is the new gold.
Mhm.
Right? Like I'm always looking for data. I'm always looking for the best intent, the best contact information I could get, the most validated, and then being able to enrich that data along the way and building out, I would say, your data set for your company. That that's worth money. Those if it's validated and it's accurate, even if it's just 95% accurate, um, companies are willing to take that data and buy that data, right? So I think that it's important that as we move forward with AI, that everyone in the industry in your industries, you're focused on making sure, if you're doing outreach at all, that the key piece is making sure your data is scrubbed.
Absolutely. I think we've had a new poll here. What makes personalization hardest for your team today? And feel free to answer in terms of AI, manual, combination of both, and let us know, and we can have a discussion of that. Yep. I think top voted answers are not enough account and contact context, and AI generated messaging sounds generic. So I think we've covered most of those over this session. Surprising number is also CRM data being incomplete and outdated. I think that's also to do with the fact that there's just so much activity going on, uh, that it's hard to keep track of. And even if the AI can update some of the things, a lot of the activities across a scattered set of tools get missed out very often.
I think the I think the key here is just understanding what AI can do for you, and where's the gap, right? And I think we all know where the gap is on our outreach, right?
Mhm.
If your messaging is good or relevant or not, and but at the end of the day, all of that doesn't matter unless you have good data. None of these steps matter unless you have good data.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Moving on, right? Everything is not negative. There are some positive to take out of it, and we can always benefit. Although a lot of vendors in the space, are everybody's talking about AI, and agentic AI has become the new buzzword. It started with initially just AI, now agentic AI. Where do we actually draw the line, Brandon, in terms of how does a sales leader really pressure test what they're looking at and not just get amazed by a singular set of outcomes?
Yeah, so I think it's important where the line is every time is the research layer. I think after you have the data, I mean that's the most important piece, but then it goes into research and identifying, you know, what 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 are the buying triggers and the buying signals from those contacts, understanding the relevance that you're going to approach them with, whether that's budgeting, research, what may have you. A sequence tool with AI copy is just a faster automation. Humans still have to configure who they're targeting and what context to use throughout that, right? So I think that that's important. And a true agentic system identifies the right accounts, researches those, using live signals, and adapts the message to the context, which actually pick the right channels, and the timing is super important during this, right? And executes, and understanding and learning from the feedback, and the learning from those interactions is important without ever having a human intervene in that. I think that's important as well. I would say that for anyone that's looking for agentic tools, you ask the vendor to research a live account and pick an account on the spot, not a preloaded demo, any of those things, but watch whether the system identifies the signals independently or whether the human configures it. That's where most vendors can't deliver on the agentic tools. And you'll see that too, where most vendors are, rebranding agentic tools as automation.
Yeah, I think it's just another word for buzzword for automation. And like we used to have in the older days, we preset demos that look very cool. The same thing's happening now, where they're actually, showing a preset data and preset set of values that work, and blending that as agentic AI working. What's your view on this, Austin? How do you think, from an SDR's perspective, who has to do a lot of emailing, and as well as from a overall sales point of view, what when a true agentic system is running, what do you think it looks like, and how does the day-to-day job change?
Yeah, for the SDRs that are good and are embracing this, it's actually kind of a breath of fresh air because they get to then focus on just the more human element of the job and not as much of the dirty work component, that where they're just digging and trying to find the information that they need to then ultimately do the human element of the job. The whole goal is to have the humans be humans and do what they're best at, and then whatever tool we can get involved to take care of the work that is like really busy work and dirty work, so that we can have more of the human element aspect of it being involved in the day to day for like the SDR or whichever person, honestly. That's the goal of the whole setup here, is to just make it more efficient that way, so that they're focused on just doing the parts that AI can't do, which is be a human. And I absolutely recommend, anybody out there that has people doing these types of things, you really just want to lean into the human element of it, because as Brandon was mentioning, Samvit was mentioning, people still want to talk to people. They want to communicate with people and do those types of things. So it's not like AI is going to just make these roles disappear and get rid of that element of who we are as people. People still want to do business with people, so that's not going to change. But in order to make it efficient and make things better and upgrade these roles, you get AI to do the work that's taking up the time of the SDRs and the other reps and that type of thing, so that they can spend more time doing the human element of the job. So it's not just efficiency that is the outcome. It's actually people that are going to enjoy their work even more because they're getting to do the best part of the job more.
Absolutely. Yeah, we should take away the part that the prospect, we call it the indifference test at Tario, where we automate and use AI in anything that the prospect can't tell is written by AI or a person, or doesn't care that it's written by a person. When you're talking to somebody on a phone, where you're really wanting to know their intent behind selling you, because sales is not just about showing you a presentation and you buying it. It's more about a connection between two people and the trust that's developed. I don't think most people want AI within that bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yep. So we have another poll coming up. When evaluating agentic AI in sales, what do you think is most important to you? Do you care about how a researcher's lives account independently? How can it personalize better? Does it find the right contacts for you? Does it do the outreach well? Or how does it learn from successes and failures in your campaigns? Give us your answers and we'll have a quick discussion on it. Any guesses, Brandon?
Oh, hmm. I think it's going to be identifying the people, identifying the ICPs. I think
Yeah.
that is one thing that can cut down the time. I don't believe that the personalization of the outreach should be done. I think that's just a manual piece. I mean, there are pieces of it like follow-ups and things like that. I think could be done that way. I've actually booked a few meetings off automated outreach, but the initial outreach was not automated. Right, it was like an email that I wrote and then added them to a sequence after I've already connected with them on LinkedIn. And so there's a certain process and a certain um, flow that I use, and then it's not always the same time. But yeah, I would think it would be
Yeah.
that.
I think it's a constant learning process, and what works for you, you should amplify it, and not just follow.
Yeah, I don't think there's any one specific way to do
Yeah.
sales, right? I think everybody kind of does it their own way, but we all do the same things as like manually updating our CRM and going over and logging our call. And then, we're spending a lot of time where we're like, hey, I could have done 100 calls today if this was all automated on the back end, right? Because I only talked to 10 people, right? So I think at the end of the day, if I could get through those numbers and identify what's good and what's bad, I mean, the good thing is if you have a bad number, it's not going against like your calling domain or your number, right? But when you send out bad emails, it hits your domain. So I think at the end of the day, if we can identify the right contact information and the right ICP through AI, I think it goes a long way. Research also helps. So yeah.
Absolutely, makes sense. And circling back to what Austin heavily emphasized on the human element, I think in the age of AI, human element will be the most important thing. So, yeah, Brandon, what's your thoughts on what stays human, what does AI fully own. You spoke about prospecting and briefly on that
Yeah.
you can move out identifying. But where does the human really stand in controlling the AI and really taking the benefit from it instead of being vice versa, where a human is just setting up an account and letting the AI run free?
Yeah, so I think they're just you have to, segment it. I think that's important. Fully understanding what process you're going to follow. Where does AI fit into that? Where does the human have to step in? Where does AI assist, follow up, and do some personalization for you or some call preps? But AI, fully automated AIs, should be like doing account research, list building, enrichment of your data, um, outreach sequencing across email, LinkedIn. I think that's okay. Meeting scheduling, if you can get to that point with AI, great, you're on the right path. But most importantly is going to be CRM logging. I think that's the most important piece. The mistake most teams make is the opposite. They automate the relationship moments, right? And then the people fall off, and you see a lot of churn from that. Manually doing admin work when a platform owns a full research to outreach loop. Reps, arrive at every conversation better prepared with better accounts and have done a better job and without doing any of the legwork on that. So, I mean, I like the pieces that you can get are like the research piece, what are they doing? What's going on in the market? What's that company up to? Same with the individual you're reaching out to. You can automate pieces to pull data from different, sources. But at the end of the day, it goes back to what Austin's saying, right? I think it's data is important. You'll never get to that point without it, right? And you don't want to enhance all of your problems, because that's what AI will do. It will literally expose you on where your gaps are. And
Absolutely. I
it'll
think,
be
Austin, maybe you can corroborate to this, but a lot of, our users, occasionally when, the email IDs change or people move out of jobs, you see a lot of bounce data that comes in, and then the AI gets stuck, right? What should do? Should it go to, looking at other sources, or should it send messages on LinkedIn, start calling, or start, intimating the rep to start dialing? Is that a common case for you guys where, you're hitting a wall where, you can't reach out to them on email, and then, what do you do?
Yeah. So, it's something that you also have to be careful with, but I think that's where the real gold is with AI
Mhm.
right there. Because if I can not, if I have a contact that's invalid, and then I can get AI to find that valid contact for me or dig it up somehow, and I
Yeah.
don't, I haven't seen something that has done this exceptionally well yet, because we're all still learning. We're all still figuring out how to make this work and get this process down. But like, that is the core of sales right there. Like, where are the fish? Where
Mhm.
are the fish? And where do I have to, like, what do I have to use to go get the fish? And so uh that's what we're trying to figure out here. So it's something that you got to be careful with, because AI will go do the job, but it's not necessarily going to come back with what you actually need to go and actually email to those people or contact those people. And if you're just automating everything and having it rip through stuff that it's finding, then you're going to have problems, right? Like you're just going to,
Mhm.
like Brandon was saying, expose what's actually going on. And so you just have to be careful. You have to be methodical about it. But it absolutely, like, the potential there for the digging up of data and getting the valid contacts that you're actually looking for is massive. I mean, it's you're talking about tons of time saved, very valuable bits of information, constantly be able to update that information so that you know that it's valid. It's extremely valuable from a business perspective, that application of the AI, without a doubt, without a doubt. Um,
Yeah.
and that's like the goal. That's what you really want to get yourself set up for, so that the AI is taking care of that stuff while your people are worried about being people.
Yeah, absolutely. And also this connects to what Brannon was trying to say about the CRM update being the hardest part. Now you have AI systems sitting in a different product that do all of this hard work for you. Figure out these emails are likely to bounce. Let's find other emails. Let's keep backup alternatives. But if that data is not going into your CRM for your reps to be manually sending account information or pricing information, they're in trouble, right?
And I think you also if you think about it, it should be doing it real time, right? And you get a
Mhm.
notification real time that this person moved from this company to another, or this person this prospect specifically was promoted, or maybe they moved to a new department completely. And getting those intent signals in real time, again, that's great, but you have to make sure the data is there to ever get to that. So I think, though, like back to Austin, it's very important to have the foundation in place, or all these things break down the road. Whether you automate and you have the right APIs, all of it, you can have all the perfect stack, but if the data is not right, the stack's worth nothing.
Yep. All right. Yep. Moving on, right? Brannon, you spend a lot of time, building up on sales teams, and one of the most important things is having, a little bit longer term goal, giving your sales team time to transform from their old ways to the new ways, whether you're ramping up on people or you're transforming existing people. 8 reps, 2 hours each day spent on research, and a single mail goes out. On a 90-day goal, to get those back, what does the transformation really look like for you?
For the transformation piece, I think it's, what breaks through is demonstrating specifically, showing genuine understanding of the buyer situation, the real recent context, their actual challenges that requires real research and not just personalization, tokens, right? You have to make sure you're using AI correctly, making sure that, through all of that, I think that it raises the bar for people doing manual workflows. But it rewards the teams running on proper agentic systems, producing the relevance at scale, and exactly what connects research to outreach does, right? What does that do? And understanding teams whose outreach demonstrates real context to win and first impressions before a call is ever booked. So understanding the whole customer, building that trust with them, before the call is ever booked is doing that actual research. And then you're going to have credibility when you walk into that conversation, instead of, sounding super generic, and really not having your message ever really land in their inbox, because it's going to go to spam, because nowadays they have, the filters where they can identify, hey, have you been sending the same email out across multiple platforms or domains, right? So I think that's important.
Absolutely. Austin, where do you think, the good teams or the teams that are getting this right and the transformation successful are doing?
Yeah, I think the best teams just understand their customers the best. Sales is a lot like hunting or fishing or anything like that. You just have to understand the patterns of your customer and know where to be at the right time. Because a lot of people, especially nowadays with all the noise, they're moving throughout their day and their lives, doing what they need to do. And really the key to outbound now is catching them when the problem is that they're having and that you address is at top of mind. So understanding like the seasonality of the issues, when they start to do these, look into these types of things that you're trying to sell. I know for us personally, we've really dialed in our outbound to only specific times of the year, because it's basically pointless at any other time because nobody's worried about the problem. So like figuring out if you're sending the right information, you have like all the stuff correct, and you send it at the wrong time, or you reach out at the wrong time, you're not going to connect with that customer. You might stay, get the visibility and stay top of mind. So when they do have the issue, then, they're thinking of you right away. That there is value to that. But in terms of actually getting them to the table and closing the sale, relevance and timing is everything. You want to make sure that you're just studying the people that you're trying to get in touch with and understand the patterns and the needs that they have, so that you're there when the time comes.
Brannon,
I
any
always
thoughts
say
on
it's
what
kind
timing
of
works best? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's kind of like dating.
Yeah.
How old are your relationship with your wife? You just
Yeah.
really have to like put in the time. I mean, and it reflects. You can see the reps that actually put in the time of building the relationship, right? Versus people. And I know most of the outreach that we're talking about now is just the initial outreach, getting initial conversation. But if you can make that sound more like you're approaching someone for the first time to ask them out, versus you're not just like asking them to go to dinner on the first email, right? Hey, can I have a call with you right now? Like I get those all the time, and there's no real like effort to identify what my problems are, where I'm currently at, what my challenges be. They're just immediately pitching their product. And those go to spam, or they go to my junk or my deleted emails. So,
On
so
the
I try
note
to
of
take
getting replies, on the note of getting replies to tough questions, we have a next poll up. What do you think matters most in getting enterprise buyers to respond today? I think it's a like-for-like comparison. Stronger
Yeah, I think
subject
it's got to be.
line. Yep.
I think it's got to be timing for sure nowadays.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say that as well.
Yep. Let's see.
Time on it.
Just got to know your customer. Like, you got to know what they're doing, what they're thinking, when they're moving, what problems they have.
And if they're even looking, right? I think that's too relevant, right?
Yeah, those
Do any of
intense.
you guys?
Go ahead.
Oh, you go.
I was gonna say, do any of you guys hunt or fish?
Yeah, I do. I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. So that's
Okay.
what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do here. So yeah, I love
Same
it.
type of thing.
And I think patience, I
Yeah.
think it goes back to patience. Being in sales, and especially with the pressure coming from senior leadership, right? No matter where you are in sales, you have a senior leader and you have pressure. I think again, it's just understanding yourself, understanding where you are currently, and you're not, you're not desperate. And I think a lot of these sales reps that send out these messages, they just sound so desperate for a meeting, right? Instead of like taking the time to like really send one or two more emails that have more relevance, will go further in the relationship building.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. On that closing note, I'll just wrap up. I think what we've thought of the session, and get some closing thoughts from Austin and Brannon individually. We started, what we've come up with, and what my view from the session is that the teams that will succeed or are succeeding, they got the foundation right first. They put in the time to figure out who they want to target, what their ICP is, how they want to target it, what the role of the sales team in terms of the human rep is, what in terms of the AI is, how their deliverability is going to be there, how are they going to make sure, when they're dialing somebody or sending an email, they're not ending up in spam, they're leaving voicemails correctly, they're maintaining all the good practices of following, unsubscribing people and not spamming them. I think that's very important. And the second big one, right? People should get away from the generic AI trap that they see on LinkedIn, or they see executives pushing that because software engineers could be replaced by AI, let's replace salespeople with AI. I think that parallel is not going to be working. Teams are really struggling with tool overload, and AI has not been as effective in solving it. I think CRM is something we mentioned many times in this call, and that problem has still not been solved and has been as bad or maybe even worse, where the CRM being up to date and that being used in the outreach by the sales rep on a day-to-day basis, that gap is still missing. That connected loop, with keeping the human and the SDR in mind and supercharging them with providing handful of AI products and connected workflows, is exactly what we built Tario around. So final thoughts from you, Austin, and then maybe we'll start with Austin, 60 seconds.
Yeah, so I would say just in general with this whole AI phenomenon that's going on, I know, like, when I see all this stuff, I just feel like I'm missing something, right? Like, because I'm playing with the AI and I'm doing these things and I'm hearing all these like crazy things about AI. And what I would recommend is, there's all this pressure to move fast and do these things, but this is actually something you want to be very methodical with. Don't feel that pressure just because it has AI slapped on it, or there's all these different things going on. Make sure you understand what you're doing before you jump into the water here, because you can really do a lot of damage and waste a lot of money just jumping in and getting involved in this stuff just because you think you need to. And the other thing you're going to realize too, when you start playing around and learning about it, is it's not nearly as scary as it looks or sounds. You're going to realize it's not as crazy as everybody makes it sound. It's not this like miracle tool. It's just something that's really going to help with efficiency when applied the right way. So don't be afraid. Understand what you're doing and go about it methodically. Don't rush into it just because you feel the pressure from the market, or you feel like everybody else is jumping in and you're missing out. And then just take care of the basics still. That's never going to change. And keep being human, because that's also never going to change. Lean into that aspect of it and figure out how to really get that element of your brand and your company in front of people, because that's ultimately what sells.
Excellent, excellent, love it. Brannon, up to you.
Yeah, for me, I think it's I don't know all of the great things that Austin just said, but again, just documenting and making sure you understand your processes before you implement AI. Understand where AI can fit with inside those work streams or those workflows, and definitely don't automate the human element of it. That's what sales is, and it goes back to what Austin was saying earlier. People want to buy from people they like, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, nobody really likes to see an automated message. So just keep that in mind. Keep the human piece a part of it, the element, and at the end of the day, data is the most important piece to make your AI work and run efficiently. And that's whether it's feeding the AI the correct SOPs, the correct processes or workflows, whatever. Make sure that all those things are documented so that you can go back and change and adapt and move forward correctly with efficiency and clarity.
Absolutely. Wonderful. I think that's a good note to wrap up on, and we'll keep the Q&A open. If you guys have any questions, then we'll get them answered.
And I guess while we're waiting for questions, maybe you both could talk a little bit about ZeroBounce and both of your companies. I think that would be important so that people that are on this call, maybe that I've invited, can understand what both your companies do while we wait for questions.
Sure, Austin, you can start.
Okay. Yeah. Great idea, Brannon. So yeah, we're an email validation company. We take your email contact list and make sure that the emails that you have are actually going to be valid, so that you're not sending the emails that are going to bounce. You're not sending the spam traps or any of the other emails that are going to ultimately get you in trouble. Very simple solution. We do other things like warm up and we can find emails. We do DMARC monitoring, all the stuff around deliverability. We're kind of like a deliverability suite now. And but with the core of it being the email validation, because as Brannon was saying, the data is the most important thing. So we just take care of your data for you.
Great.
Absolutely. And at Tario, we're building an agentic sales execution platform so that your sales rep that fill up the top of the funnel and do the hard work of getting the demos booked for you, they can be really made much more efficient, but not in a way of spamming or just raising the number of metrics in terms of email replies or email sent out, but real meaningful conversations with prospects increasing, where we keep the SDR at the center and figure out what are the processes that we can replace out in an efficient manner. And we put a heavy emphasis on signals and data quality. So we want to make sure that we can reach the most number of people in an efficient manner instead of just trying to reach a large number of people. So we focus on finding signals and using those signals and personalizing, like we mentioned in the call, right, in a relevant manner. We wouldn't want to just pick up on something you posted on LinkedIn that's irrelevant and just say you spoke about this, but really bring all of that together and look at how the SDR actually writes emails and use that as a ground for personalization. So I think we're mainly focused on removing the repeated work that the sales reps have to do and help focusing them on selling more.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you
you.
guys inviting us to the call today.
Yeah, I think it's a good ending point. We finished a little bit before time, but I think we've got a lot of important stuff that we covered in the session.
Well, and if you're doing any outreach, I would highly suggest that you use ZeroBounce and Tario both together as a seamless tool. And it sounds like they both will complement each other, tremendously. So when you're building your tech stack, it's definitely a good consideration to look at both of these companies.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, and it was a great session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.